So I believe you can hear me, sir, Dr. Gopinath.
Yes, sir. Hello, good evening, sir.
Good evening, everyone. We welcome you to today's webinar. Uh, it's been a long webinar for all of us here because we've been having series of webinars conducted by Karnataka State Physiotherapy Federation, and it's been a long delay. I'm sorry, because we had a gap of 5 days due to the holidays and other things. So we've started here again. We would be again going on with the webinar sessions regularly, and I wish all the participants to be a part of it and gain more knowledge. So today we have this webinar organized on behalf of the Federation, and today's moderator would be Dr. Deepu Mana Thakur, who's Associate Professor at Gautam College of Physiotherapy, Bangalore. We welcome you, madam. And the speaker, I'm sure most of you know him, Dr. Gopinath Deshi. He's been with us from a very long time. He's been conducting a lot of workshops on BLS, and many of the students and physios know him personally, right, sir? So I welcome you,
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Gopinath Deshi.
Thank you, sir.
Sharing your knowledge, helping everyone to know what basic life support is basically. It's very important for any medical practitioner to note this and be aware of basic life support in any kind of emergency. And I'm sure the participants today will also gain knowledge and try to implement that in their regular practices. Thank you so much, and over to you, Dr. Deepmala. Can you please take over?
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. And once again, good evening, everyone, all the viewers present here, and good evening to Dr. Gopinath, sir. I wish you're all healthy and good right now. And let's start with, as Sai sir has already told, that tonight's speaker is a very well-known person we have with us, and he is a known person for his work in humanitarian aids. Sir has conducted various seminars and workshops in a large scale to establish and train people in the field of basic life support. Now, all the viewers must be knowing when the term comes basic life support means, of course, it is the most basic thing which is to be done for a patient who is under life-threatening situation. So that's what we are going to learn today from Gopinath sir. Sir is a certified basic life support instructor from American Heart Association. Sir, I would like to bid a warm welcome to you. And
Thank you, Doctor.
I wish all the viewers to take full advantage of Sir's knowledge and skill and try to gain as much as possible from him. Sir, over to you now. We'll start the session.
Thank you, Dr. Deepamala.
Yes.
Good evening, all the viewers. Many thanks and gratitude to Karnataka State Physiotherapy Federation on behalf of PPR Foundation. And I would like to take this opportunity to salute all the global corona warriors who are risking their life to save mankind. Okay, so this is a wonderful opportunity. I would like to salute all the global corona warriors, those who are fighting this pandemic disease. Okay, so I'll start with a PPT presentation. Before that, my sincere thanks to American Heart Association, which develops a beautiful guidelines on basic life support, as well as there are few videos I have taken from the YouTube purely for the academic purpose. That is National Safety Council as well as Youth Council, who prepares a lot of videos on choking as well as basic life support management. Okay, so once again, I am visible to all as well as my voice is clear to all.
Yes, sir. I guess it's clear enough. Even you are very much audible now, clearly.
I would like to go with the PPT presentation first.
It is visible.
The emergencies can occur both outside the hospital as well as inside the hospital. As we all know, the sudden cardiac arrest as well as the cardiovascular diseases strike each and every nation, which increases the mortality as well as morbidity. Most of the sudden cardiac victims, they will die before reaching the hospital because of the lack of bystander CPR. So today's webinar session is about how to learn the basic life saving skills, that is called as BLS, in adult, child as well as infant. It is more of a enhancing your theoretical knowledge because BLS is more of a hands-on training. But today we try to enhance your theory knowledge about basic life support. Yeah. Well, basic life support is one of the important chain of adult survival, which is considered to be a foundation for advanced cardiovascular life support. Why basic life support is very, very important? Because most of the time, these emergency strikes inside the hospital as well as outside the hospital. If somebody collapsed in front of you, like he had a sudden cardiac arrest and collapsed in front of you in an unresponsive state, or he is not breathing, with no pulse, what is the first thing you are going to do? First thing is to make sure that thing is safe. Safety should be both for the patient as well as the resuscitator. The first assessment is field safety. Look for any hazardous materials, moving vehicles, road traffic, or fire, and any chemical spillages. So all those things we need to screen before approaching the victim. If the scene is safe, then you approach the patient, assess the patient for his consciousness or whether he is responding to your commands or not. Once patient is in response to you, if he is not breathing normally or he call for ambulance. Like in Indian scenario, you used to call for 108 ambulance, or you can call for nearby help. You can use your mobile phones, or you can call someone near to you for activation of the ambulance call. The next thing is, if person is unresponsive, not breathing, and no pulse, so you need to start early high quality CPR. CPR is the one thing which keeps someone alive until you get an ambulance as well as until you get a healthcare professional arrival. Why CPR is very, very important? See, when sudden cardiac arrest occurs, your heart is either temporarily stops pumping the blood to the brain as well as vital organs. By providing early high quality chest compressions only with your hands, that is your manual chest compression, you are going to provide perfusion to the brain and rest of the organs so that you are going to save the patient as well as you are going to keep the neurological function intact. So that is the importance of BLS in adult chain of survival. Look at this slide carefully. So this is the new AHA guideline slide. There are 5 important links which are very crucial in saving life. Why it is important? See, countries like India, see, most of the sudden cardiac arrest occurs outside the hospital. So we all know that, like in public places, homes, schools, playgrounds, as well as in temples, auditoriums. So we can't predict when the emergencies can strike. Suppose if you are trained in basic life support, whether you are a doctor or nurse or paramedic or whoever it may be, or general public, if you are trained in basic life support, so you are going to save somebody's life in that time. So why sudden cardiac arrest plays very important role? Because if any patient who went into sudden cardiac arrest because of the life-threatening arrhythmia or any acute myocardial infarction, which leads to ventricular fibrillation or pulseless VT, so suddenly the patient's heart stops pumping blood to the brain as well as rest of the organs. In that case, if you provide early high-quality chest compressions, like by providing manual chest compressions with your heel of the hand, you are going to perfuse the blood to to the brain as well as rest of the organs that keeps someone's life alive. Okay, so there are 5 important links which are very essential. Today we are going to discuss in that the theory part of the BLS. The first thing is immediate recognition of cardiac arrest and activation of the emergency response system. Immediate recognition of cardiac arrest involves tapping the patient's shoulders, both the shoulders, like hello sir, are you all right? Hello madam, are you all right? Like if patient is responsive, and the next thing is simultaneously check for the pulse as well as breathing. How long we need to check? At least we need to check 5 seconds, not more than 10 seconds. So 5 seconds, if there is no pulse or when you are in doubt whether patient is having pulse or not, immediately you need to start high quality CPR. That is very important. What are the high quality CPR components? We'll discuss in the next slide. And next thing is rapid defibrillation. High defibrillation is very important in basic life support. Most of the sudden cardiac arrest victims, they are in either ventricular fibrillation or in pulseless ventricular tachycardia, because these two rhythms can be reverted by giving rapid defibrillation. That is the reason rapid defibrillation is one of the important link in basic life support, because basic life support is always involved with the manual operations as well as breathing. High defibrillation is very important in most of the cardiac arrest victims. If they are in ventricular fibrillation or else in pulseless ventricular tachycardia, by delivering early chest compressions and early defibrillation, the chances of survival rate goes to high. Next comes to effective advanced cardiovascular life support. So that is the very important thing. See, BLS is the foundation for advanced cardiovascular life support. Without pulse, we can't proceed into advanced cardiovascular life support. So it's very important to provide early high quality CPR in outside hospital cardiac arrest or inside hospital sudden cardiac arrest, because pulse is very essential to provide all further advanced cardiovascular life support. That is the reason basic life support is considered to be a foundation for advanced cardiovascular life support. Next most important link in the adult.
Interrupt in between, sir. Few of the viewers are telling that it is little not audible that clearly. So if you can just check if net is fine.
Okay, just a minute.
In between, sometimes it is just
most important. Hope I am audible.
Yes, sir. Audible, sir.
Yeah. The fifth most important chain in the adult chain of survival is integrated post-cardiac arrest care, which is usually done in the hospital. Briefly, I will highlight why it is so important. Because in countries like India, most of the patients who suffer sudden cardiac arrest outside the hospital, if they not receive early bystander CPR or early defibrillation, even if they reach hospital, even after successful resuscitation, they will end up with the neurological, ischemic changes. Quite important. Because, BLS is not only saving someone's life, BLS is also very important to keep the neurological functions intact. As you all know, we heard about the vegetative state or coma state or brain dead state. So many times we heard this word, right? Brain state or, a patient is in coma state in spite of best resuscitative efforts. Providing early BLS not only improves the chances of survival, but also improves the patient's neurological recovery. So that is the reason BLS is considered to be a foundation for ACLS, as well as saving someone's life. Well, this is the BLS survey, which is very important. And BLS survey can be done in all the emergencies. Most of the time, when you work in casualty or when you go for an ambulance call or whenever there is a emergency strike, these are all unpredictable, because emergency strike at any moment of time. It can happen in your home, in your working place, or in hospital, any place, because emergencies are unscheduled or unplanned cases. So in that case, if you know the basic BLS survey, you are going to save someone's life. So what is the first thing if someone collapses in front of you? If patient collapses in front of you or unresponsive in front of you, the first thing is, as I said earlier, make sure that he should be safe for both patient as well as the resuscitator. The next thing is to assess the patient for responsiveness, like tap the both the shoulders, ask for whether he is all right or is there any issues with the breathing, and you just scan the chest for a moment for breathing, whether visible stress is there or not. At the same time, check the carotid pulse. In most of the sudden cardiac arrest time, like you don't get a peripheral pulses, so don't try to check for radial pulse or peripheral pulses. So try to check the central pulse whenever there is a cardiac arrest victim. Okay, if there is no definitive pulse in 5 to 10 seconds, or if patient is in gasping, the first thing is to call for a help, and immediately you need to start chest compression. So as I said earlier, this is the theoretical part because the BLS is more of a hands-on training. So to increase your theoretical knowledge, I am just sharing few of the slides as well as some of the videos. Okay. So if you recognize patient is in unresponsive state, not breathing and no pulse, the first thing is you need to call for a help, or you need to call for an ambulance to get an AED or defibrillator. Next thing is to start early high quality CPR. That is your cardiopulmonary resuscitation, which is the important component in basic life support. So how to provide CPR? You just remember push hard and push fast. Now it is not too hard or not too fast. Okay. So give 30 compressions and 2 ventilations. Okay. So give 30 compressions and 2 ventilations until you get a AED, or until you get a expert help, or till you become tired, or till you get a ACLS team or BLS team arrives to the situation. So this is how you are going to assess the scene survey. To make it simple on today's webinar, at the end of this workshop, we are going to thorough with the BLS survey and learn CPR in 3 simple steps, simplified BLS algorithm, and understand the adult chain of survival. Okay, as I explained earlier, BLS survey starts with an assessment. Check for the responsiveness. Tap the patient's shoulder, both the shoulders. Look for no breathing or no normal breathing only, or gasping. Check for pulse, no more than 10 seconds. In adults, we are going to check the carotid pulse, and in children, we are going to check either carotid or femoral pulse, and in infants, we are going to check the brachial pulse. So we spend at least 5 seconds, not more than 10 seconds to check the pulse. If there is no pulse and no breathing within 5 to 10 seconds, we are going to activate the emergency response system, or code blue, in hospital or ambulance, and we start providing high quality CPR. Okay, this is the simplified BLS algorithm, which is taken from the American Heart Association. Okay, briefly I will explain about this algorithm. So whenever you come across a situation where you witnessed a sudden cardiac arrest or someone collapsed in front of you, first thing is to verify the scene safety. Okay, then you check for the response and look for breathing as well as pulse, and immediately you should call for help. If there is no breathing, but patient is having a pulse, you need to provide rescue. That is called a respiratory arrest. If there is absence of both pulse as well as breathing, that condition we call it as a cardiorespiratory arrest. In that case, you need to start early high quality CPR till you get a AED arrive. Once the AED arrives, you need to apply the AED, look for the shock rhythm. As I said earlier, most of the sudden cardiac arrest victims are in either ventricular fibrillation or pulseless ventricular tachycardia. These are the 2 rhythms which requires early defibrillation to stun the heart or to stop the arrhythmias. Okay. So this is the one important slide I would like to show. This is CAB. Hope it is visible. I hope it is visible.
Sir?
Yeah, it is visible.
So you are not visible. The PPT is visible, but your voice is not that loud. Can you be a little louder, sir?
I request host to restart the video, because we cannot start the video because the host has stopped it. It's coming.
Oh, just a minute, sir.
Yeah. I'm not visible, sir. That is the reason. I think. Hello. Yeah, Dr. Deepmala, it is showing you cannot start your video because the host has stopped it.
That will be
Sir,
corrected, sir.
sir
Please,
will be
please
doing,
go on.
sir. You can continue with the
Questions, airway, breathing is the most important link in CPR. Easily you can remember as CAB, CAB. C stands for compressions, airway, and breathing. In basic life support, we need to consider 8 years and above as an adult. Okay, in basic life support, we need to consider 8 years and above as an adult, 1 year to 8 years as child, and newborn to 1 year as an infant. So, if you come across a situation where 8 year and above old kids or victims suffers a cardiac arrest, you treat them as an adult. Okay, as I said, the BLS survey. So you need to assess the patient, and if patient is unresponsive, and you suspected he is in cardiac arrest or in respiratory arrest, so you need to call for a help. So this is the one important slide I would like to show you all. In sudden cardiac arrest or in patient who is unresponsive, first thing is to assess the scene safety. Then you assess the breathing. Simultaneously, you check the pulse. If the pulse is absent or patient is not breathing, you need to provide high quality CPR. So how to provide high quality CPR? You need to keep your heel of the hand exactly at the center of the chest, that is lower half of the sternum or breastbone, or you can take a landmark of below the nipple line in infants and children, or you can keep one hand exactly at the armpit, that will be your center of the chest. So not to keep your hand either on the left side or right side, because there is more chances of rib fractures. Okay, so you need to keep your heel of the hand exactly at the center of the chest, that is lower half of the sternum or breastbone. Your shoulder, elbow, and wrist should be in a straight line. So what are the high quality CPR components? As I explained earlier, this workshop is more of a hands-on skills, but today I will highlight more of a theory part. The high quality CPR techniques are compressions rate of 100 to 120 per minute. So earlier we used to tell at least 100 compressions. Now in 2015 onwards, the guideline says at least 100 to 120 compressions per minute. That is your number of compressions, and compression depth of at least 2 to 2.4 inches. That means at least 2 inches, not more than 2.4 inches. That is roughly about 5 to 6 centimeters in adults, about 5 centimeters in children, and about 4 centimeters in infants. That is your compressing depth of anteroposterior diameter of the chest. And next thing is, visible chest ray is very, very important while providing ventilation. That is very, very important. So you are not supposed to hyperventilate the patient. And switching rescuer every 2 minutes while performing CPR is very, very important to maintain the high quality CPR, because after 2 minutes we may be tired or we become fatigued. So that is the reason we need to call for help immediately whenever you start CPR. And avoiding interruptions, that is very, very important. Minimizing interruptions is very, very important while providing CPR, because once you start CPR, you are perfusing the brain as well as the vital organs. Okay, this is about the next link, that is called as airway and breathing. See, there are two methods to open the airway. In most of the time, in unconscious patient, the tongue is the most common foreign body which obstructs the airway, because the patient is in unresponsive state or unconscious state. He don't have any control over his tongue. Tongue may fall back and obstruct the airway. See, there are two methods to open the airway. One is the head tilt and chin lift. Other method is jaw thrust. See, jaw thrust method is commonly used in suspected head injury or cervical spine injury patients because doing head tilt and chin lift maneuver in suspected trauma or cervical spine injury can further damage the cervical spine and which may lead to paralysis. So that is the reason. So whenever you suspect a cervical spine injury or head injury patients or patients with fall from height, so you need to do jaw thrust maneuver. That is very, very essential. Okay. This is the opening of the airway. That is two methods. One is head tilt and chin lift. How to do this method? You can just go through the video. Keep your one hand over the patient's forehead and two fingers over the chin. So you can gently tilt the head and lift the chin. That makes the airway patent, okay, which prevents the tongue fall. Sometimes it may facilitate, easy breathing also. Next comes to breathing. If the patient is not breathing normally, so you need to provide either mouth-to-mouth breathe, or if two rescuers are there, you can use the bag mask. Delivering mouth-to-mouth is risky because it leads to infections or cross infections. In that case, you can use a pocket mask. Okay, if it is available, you can use a pocket mask. In out hospital scenario, best thing is to provide hands only CPR. I think I request host to play the video of only hands only CPR. In most of the outside hospital cardiac arrest. I request host to play the video. Is it possible, Dr. Dikmal?
Just going through it. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Yeah, this is the video, the hands only CPR video. So this is how you are going to, provide out hospital sudden cardiac arrest hands only CPR. Okay. Well, we covered chest compressions, airway, and providing ventilation. Okay. If you're a single rescuer, you can use pocket mask, which acts as a barrier device, which prevents contacts with the patient's secretions, as well as which prevents also infection. It acts as a barrier device. Okay, used as a pocket mask. to provide ventilation, okay, or breathing. So you need to give one breath for about 1 second and look for a visible chest rise. Visible chest rise indicates adequate ventilation. That is very, very important. And you need to avoid hyperventilation. Why hyperventilations we need to avoid? Because hyperventilation increases the intrathoracic pressure and decreases the venous return, as well as which decreases the cardiac output. So that is the reason you need to avoid hyperventilation when you are delivering breathing, or when you are delivering rescue breaths. Okay. If you are a single rescuer, use a pocket mask to deliver mouth-to-mouth ventilation. One breath for 1 second and look for chest rise. Visible chest rise indicates your ventilations or breathing efforts are adequate. Okay. So you need to deliver 30 compressions and 2 ventilations. If you are 2 rescuer, or if rescuers are, more number of rescuers are available, then you need to use bag mask device. That is commonly we call it as a AMBU bag, artificial manual breathing unit. That is called as AMBU bag. It is called as a mini ventilator. So there is a technique called EC clamp technique to hold the bag mask. So you need to make a E to lift the chin and to make a C to seal the mask, so that your head tilt, chin lift, airway is opened, and you need to deliver 1 breath for 1 second. That is squeezing half of the bag, half of the AMBU bag. So half of the AMBU bag delivers roughly about 400 to 500 tidal volume, which is sufficient to ventilate the patients. Normal tidal volume will be roughly about 4 to 6 ml per kg. It depends on the body weight. So you are not supposed to squeeze the whole bag. That is very, very important. While providing bag mask ventilation, you just squeeze half of the bag. That is sufficient, to adequate to ventilate the lungs. That will roughly provide 400 to 500 tidal volume. When delivering bag mask ventilation, use the EC technique to hold the chin as well as the mouth part. Okay. The next important step in BLS or in CPR is defibrillation. So you can easily remember chest compressions, airway, breathing, and defibrillation. Just I'll recap: chest compressions, airway, breathing, and defibrillation. So I already explained why defibrillation is very, very important in basic life support. Most of the cardiac arrest victims are in ventricular fibrillation or in pulseless ventricular tachycardia. By providing early defibrillation, improves the chances of survival as well as improves the neurological outcome of the patient. By delivering defibrillation, we are going to stop the electrically disorganized rhythm, which is causing a deadly arrhythmia, which causes circulatory failure. By providing a shock, we are going to stop that arrhythmia, and by providing chest compressions, we are going to restart the heart. So that is the reason most of these AEDs are kept in public places like airports, malls, stadiums, churches, as well as in public gathering places. Why they have kept AEDs in the public places? Because AED is an automated machine, which is also called as a heart start machine. It can be used by a common man also, or a common general public also can use this machine, because this doesn't require any high-end training, because it's a very simplified device. Everything is a preset device. That is the reason it is called as a automated external defibrillator. Irrespective of any type of device, there are 4 universal steps to operate the AED. First step is, to power on the AED. That is very, very important. Once you on the AED, you can just follow the AED prompts. The moment you on the AED, AED will guide you all the next steps. Like, once you on the AED, it guide you to attach the pads. Okay. The next step is AED may take 3 to 5 seconds to analyze the rhythm, and AED will advise you whether shock is needed or not. If AED advises shock, that means patient is in either shockable rhythm, that is ventricular fibrillation or pulseless VT. If no shock is required, then you need to continue with the CPR. As I said, there are two pads, adhesive pads, which commonly used in AED operations. One pad you need to place it on the right side, just below the right clavicle, and another pad on the left side, just below the left nipple. Many thanks to National Safety Council for this video. I am using it purely for the academic purpose. Host, shall I play the video?
Yes, sir, you can go ahead.
Okay, as I explained, it is a purely a theoretical video.
Sir,
As I explained earlier.
Gopinath, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, the video which you just played, if you can just put few words regarding that video.
Yeah.
because audible, it was not audible. That's why.
Yeah, there is some network issue that I'm facing here.
Yes, sir. Just explanation a little bit about that.
Okay, yeah, I'll just.
Yes.
See, why I demonstrated one small video regarding AED is concerned. Because AED, which are commonly kept in most of the public places, as I explained, in airports, malls, stadiums, church, as well as in most of the schools nowadays, they are keeping all AEDs. We commonly found these AEDs in the airports because every 500 meters or 300 meters, you find AEDs in the airports. Why they have kept AEDs in the public places? Because we can't predict emergencies. Emergencies strikes anywhere, even in public places, church or auditorium or homes. That is the reason. Wherever there is a mass gatherings, they have kept most of the AEDs. So you can find most of the AEDs in stadium also. See, when you come across a cardiac arrest victim, if AED is readily available, first thing is to on the AED, as I shown in the video. First thing is to on the AED. That is very, very important. Once you on the AED, AED will guide you the prompts. Okay. Once you on the AED, AED will take you the next wise prompts, that is attach pads. As I explained, there are 4 steps. One is power on the AED, attach the pads as shown in the diagram. One pad on the right side, that is exactly just below the right clavicle. Another pad on the left side, that is just below the left nipple. So these are the placement for AED pads. These are the adhesive pads which usually stick to the skin firmly. Once you attach the AED pads, like one on the right side, that is just below the right clavicle, and another on the left side, just below the nipple, you just plug in the connectors. Once you plug in the connectors, AED will start analyzing rhythm. Okay, AED will start analyzing the rhythm. AED may take 3 to 5 seconds, which is more than 10 seconds also. Okay, AED may take 3 to 5 seconds to analyze the rhythm, and AED will guide you whether shock is needed or not. Okay, AED will not tell you whether it is ventricular fibrillation or ventricular tachycardia or AS system. No, AED will recognize only shockable rhythm which requires shock. If AED advises shock, you need to clear all. That is very, very important. Okay, it is very, very important. First step is to clear yourself, clear others, and you can shock on 3. Like I am going to shock on 3. 1, 2, 3. Shock delivered, and immediately you need to give CPR. So this is the highlight about the AED video. Hope it is clear.
Yes, sir. It is clear, sir.
After your high quality CPR, early defibrillation, if victims started showing the signs of life. What are the signs of life? Return of spontaneous circulation. That is called as ROS. We commonly call it as ROS. That is called as return of spontaneous circulation. And victim started breathing. If he is unresponsive, like patient is having pulse, breathing after your successful resuscitation efforts, he started showing signs of life, like pulse as well as breathing, but he is not obeying your commands. Probably still he is in a unresponsive state. In that case, we need to keep the patient in a recovery position or left lateral position. That is very, very important. Why left lateral position is very, very important? Because if person is unresponsive, there is a more chances of gastric aspiration, or patients may vomit, and that vomiting content can cause airway obstruction and again choking and cardiac arrest. So that is the reason after successful resuscitation, you are waiting for an ambulance to shift the patient, or you are waiting for some expert medical help to arrive the scene. Till that time, you need to keep the patient in a recovery position. That is very, very important. That is also called as left lateral position. In that case, what will happen? Even if patient vomits also, the vomiting will not go into the airway. Well, till this time we discussed about important steps of BLS. That is CABD. Okay, don't forget the sequence CABD. C stands for your compression, that is your circulation. A stands for airway. There are two methods to open the airway. One is head tilt chin lift. Another one is jaw thrust method. Jaw thrust method is whenever you suspect a trauma patient or whenever you suspect a patient who had a history of fall from height or cervical spine injury or head injury, in that case, don't do the head tilt chin lift maneuver because which will damage further the worsens the cervical spine injury. So in that case, you need to do the jaw thrust method. Okay, and next comes to your airway, that is your breathing. So there are many methods to give the ventilation. One is mouth to mouth breathing. You can use pocket mask as a barrier device. If rescuers are more in number, like more than 2 rescuers are there, or if 2 rescuers are there, you can use bag mask, that is called as ambu bag. If you are alone, don't use the bag mask device because it will interrupt the quality of the compressions. Well, defibrillation, I explained there are 4 universal steps to operate the AED. First step is to on the AED, attach the pads as shown in the diagram, give some time to analyze the rhythm, and if shock is needed, you press the shock button. Make sure that no one is touching the patient. So these are the important steps in basic life support, that is chest compressions, airway, breathing, and defibrillation. Now, what are the functions of CPR? That is very, very important. CPR, a basic emergency procedure for life support consisting of mainly manual compressions and artificial respiration. Till you achieve ROS, that is return of spontaneous circulation, you need to provide CPR. So that is the reason one person can provide chest compressions maximum for 2 minutes. So that is the reason in high quality CPR, you need to switch the rescuer every 2 minutes to avoid fatigue and tiredness. If you know the basic life support, which reduces panic and anxiety during the time of emergencies, because most of the times if you are working in OPD or if you are doing some active or passive exercise to the patients or rehab patients, suddenly if they went into cardiac arrest. If you know the basic life support, if you know the sequence of CPR, that is CABD, so you're not going to be panicked, right? So when suddenly patient went into cardiac arrest, suddenly he went into unresponsiveness with no breathing and no pulse. In that case, if you know the basic life support steps, you are going to save his life till you get an ambulance. That is providing high quality CPR in a sequence of CABD. And CPR is very, very important for early diagnosis and detection of the symptoms of heart attack, cardiac arrest, and respiratory arrest. Basically, a heart attack is a circulatory problem, what we call it as a circulatory problem. When coronaries get obstructed, so part of the myocardium get damages, which is more prone for arrhythmias and cardiac arrest. So cardiac arrest is either a temporary or permanent stoppage of the heartbeat, or you can imagine it's the pumping capacity of the heart. And absence of breathing, we call it as respiratory arrest. Most of the times in sudden cardiac arrest, if patient is in gasping, okay, it is the underlying cause of cardiac arrest. It's an emergency treatment of a victim of cardiac arrest or respiratory arrest through cardiopulmonary resuscitation and emergency cardiovascular care or ECC. This is a simplified algorithm of BLS. I want you to go to the algorithm, which is available in the AHA website as well as is available in the Google also. It's a free resource material. So it's a very simplified algorithm. You can display it in your OPDs as well as in your ICU or in lift or in the patient waiting area. This is very simplified BLS algorithm. Anybody can, the healthcare provider, general public can easily understand this simplified algorithm. This is very simple. So if you find unresponsive patient who is not breathing or who is not normally breathing or absence of pulse, who suddenly collapse in front of you, the first symbol is to call for help. There is a telephonic symbol which is designed for call for ambulance or to call code blue or to call somebody nearby person for the help. So when you call for an ambulance, make sure that the ambulance should have a defibrillator. Okay, which is very, very essential for a sudden cardiac arrest victim. Okay, once you call for an ambulance or activate the emergency response system, you need to start high quality CPR. As I said, push hard and push fast. So push hard at least 2 to 2.4 inches in adults, and push fast is 100 to 120 compressions per minute. That is very, very important. Not less than 100 compressions and not more than 120 compressions. Once you get the AED, the circular algorithm says like this. Once you get an AED, okay, the 4 universal steps you need to follow. Once you get the AED, you keep the AED next to the patient, power on the button. Once you power on the button, half of your work will be done. Okay, AED will guide you all the voice prompts. Once you power on the AED, AED will guide you the next step, that is attach pads. So you are going to attach one pad on the right side, that is just below the right clavicle, and one pad on the left side, that is just below the nipple. As soon as you attach the pads, you just plug in to the AED. So AED will start analyzing rhythm. AED may take 3 to 5 seconds to analyze the rhythm. If AED advises shock, make sure that no one is touching the patient and announce, I'm going to shock on 3, 1, 2, 3, shock delivered. Once you deliver the shock, immediately need to resume CPR. One good thing about AED is once you attach the pads, so no need to remove each time, because once you attach the pads, AED will reanalyze it, or it will repeat every 2 minutes, it will start analyzing rhythm. So during the time of analysis, you are not supposed to touch the patient. One important thing is, as soon as the AED delivers shock, you need to begin CPR. So this is how the simplified BLS algorithm explains the circular CPR components, that is chest compressions, airway, breathing, and defibrillation. Well, this is about basic life support, chest compressions, airway, breathing, and defibrillation. So now comes to choking. Why choking we are included in BLS? Because most of the choking victims, with the food particles or foreign body objects or coins or toys, usually what happens? They will obstruct the airway. If you come across a patient who is in choking, like airway obstruction, choking is commonly called as a foreign body airway obstruction. If you come across a patient with a choking, so you need to relieve the choking by simple method called Heimlich maneuver. That is a simple method by giving inward and upward abdominal thrust. You are going to dislodge the foreign body. So that is the reason choking is included in basic life support, because most of the choking victims may go into cardiorespiratory arrest and can become unresponsive. When you come across a choking victim, this is called as a universal choking symbol, just holding his neck, and patient is unable to cough, unable to utter words, and he is just nodding his head. When you ask, are you choking? Yes, he is nodding his head. If there is a cough reflex, okay, if there is a cough reflex, we call it as a moderate airway obstruction. In that case, you encourage patients to cough, because coughing can dislodge the foreign body, okay. Encouraging cough can dislodge the foreign body from the upper airway. If patient is unable to cough, okay, that means it is a severe airway obstruction. In that case, in adults, you are going to do the Heimlich maneuver, that is by locating the patient's navel or belly button. Keep your fist of the one hand just above the navel or umbilicus, and make a fist with the one hand and lock it with the other hand. So give inward, upward abdominal thrust, which dislodges the foreign body. At any point of time, if patient become unresponsive, okay, you need to start CPR. So this is how the Heimlich maneuver will be done. In Heimlich maneuver, the diaphragm causes lungs to compress. The forceful diaphragmatic compressions can induce a cough reflex, which expels the foreign body from the airway. So that is the reason Heimlich maneuver is very life-saving, which is included in basic life support. So many thanks to Nick Rondel for giving this video and sharing it for the academic purpose.
Sir, Gopinath sir? Hello? Sir?
Yeah, this is a universal choking symbol commonly we find. Okay, just holding both side of patient, if it is in moderately airway obstruction, we encourage them to cough because coughing can dislodge the foreign body. If patient is in severe airway obstruction, then we are going to provide the Heimlich maneuver by placing exactly one hand just above the umbilicus. Just above the umbilicus, you need to give inward upward thrust. So by delivering inward and upward thrust, you are going to generate a forceful, a cough reflex, which can dislodge the foreign body from the airway. Okay, when it comes to children, okay, 1 year to 8 years, as I said in BLS, 1 year to 8 years, we consider it as a child, okay. If you come across a situation where child is in choking, okay, most commonly choking hazards are coins, peanuts, candies, and small toys, which can commonly obstruct the child's airway. Okay, if child can able to cough or child can able to generate cough, encourage child to cough. So coughing can dislodge the foreign body. If child is unable to generate cough reflex, assume that she is in a or is in a severe respiratory distress. In that case, you need to kneel down behind the child and provide a gentle Heimlich maneuver, that is giving inward upward abdominal thrust, can dislodge the foreign body. Well, infants are more prone for choking, most again. So that is the reason in toys they have mentioned the age group, which is suitable for 3 year, 4 year, 5 year, something like that, because small toys can hazardous, can cause choking and immediate death. So that is the reason. So in case of infants choking, like up to 1 year, you need to take the infant on your forearm by supporting the chin. Keep the infant little head down with the support of your lap. And give 5 back, that is between the shoulder blades, and turn the child on your other forearm, supporting the occiput, and give 5 chest thrusts, that is with your 2 fingers. Each time when you open the mouth, you can look for any visible foreign body. If the foreign body is visible, you can easily remove the foreign body with your fingers. So don't do blind finger sweep. If foreign body is visible to you, after providing 5 back blows and 5 chest thrusts, each time you open the airway and look for any foreign object. If foreign object is visible, you can easily remove with your finger. Okay. So how to provide back blow? Keep the infant little head down. Give 5 back blows, that is between the scapula, that is between the shoulder blades, and turn the infant on your other hand, supporting the occiput, and give 5 chest thrust. 5 chest thrust. And third step is look for any visible foreign body in the oral cavity. Okay. I'll just play the video of infant choking. You can kneel down or you can sit comfortably. Give 5 back blows and 5 chest thrusts with your 2 fingers just below the nipple line. Give 5 back blows between the shoulder blades and give 5 chest thrusts, that is 5 chest compressions. Okay, suppose if the victim become unresponsive, while performing chest thrust and chest compressions, you need to call for a help and start chest compressions. Why chest compressions is very important. If the choking victim or if the choking infant goes into unresponsive state, immediately you need to call for a help and you need to start chest compressions and breathing also. By delivering chest compressions and breathing, either the foreign body may dislodge or it may go into one lung. That is, either it may go into a right bronchus, which is most commonly prone for aspiration. So you can ventilate with a single lung. So that will be life-saving, right? Suppose if the foreign body is obstructed in the main bronchus, so it is very difficult to ventilate the lungs. If the choking victim becomes unresponsive, you need to call for a help and suddenly you need to start CPR. By delivering CPR, there are 2 benefits. One is either the foreign body may dislodge from the position or it may go into one side of the lung, so that it facilitates a single lung ventilation that will be life-saving. I hope it is clear, the choking. And one special guideline I have displaying today, that is the global pandemic COVID-19 patients. Okay, so this is one special scenario of adult cardiac arrest algorithm for suspected or confirmed COVID patients. The first and priority is for the safety of the resuscitator as well as the infection control. So BLS healthcare provider adult cardiac arrest algorithm for suspected or confirmed COVID patients. Verify the scene safety. As I explained, scene safety is the first priority. Don the PPE, personal protective equipment. That is your gloves, gown, goggles, and all personal protective equipments. Limit the personal. That is very, very important. Whenever there is a code blue, so we need to call code blue. That time there are many people in the code blue team, like 6 to 8 people are there in the code blue in common scenarios. But here in COVID-19 cardiac arrest, limit as much as possible, and remaining steps are same, like providing high quality CPR. But one special priority is here, wearing the personal protective equipment. In what are all the situations you are going to do the BLS survey? So these are the quite common emergencies we come across in the day-to-day life, like alcohol overdose, poisoning, choking, road traveling accidents, shock, gunshot injuries, smoke inhalation, drowning, poisoning, heat exposure, and cold exposure, hypothermia. So these are all the situations where you are going to apply the BLS survey. So this is the take-home message of this theoretical webinar on basic life support. You can note down also. So these are the new guidelines of basic life support. We call it as a high quality CPR techniques. First thing is push hard and push fast, that is 100 to 120 compressions per minute. Allow complete chest recoil, that is equal compressions and relaxation. Do not lean over the chest after each compression. Pulse check should be limited to less than 10 seconds, not more than 10 seconds. Or delivering rescue breathing, giving ventilation, or providing defibrillation should be within 10 seconds. Compression depth, adults 2 inches, not more than 2.4 inches. Children, that is 1/3 of the depth of the chest, and in infants 1.5 inches. So this is about the brief theory part of the basic life support. I hope with this the brief theory part enhanced your knowledge, and thank you very much for your patience for listening this. And is there any questions when it comes to theory part?
Sir, you are going to get loaded with questions. There are many questions which have come up.
Greatly appreciate that.
Okay, so thank you, sir. It was a really nice explanation about the BLS. We have got many questions over here.
Yes.
So the first question which a person called Dr. Margi Pandey has asked is like, how many times can you give the AED shock to the patient? How many
Okay,
times?
it is one of the fantastic question. In most of the workshops, I ask this question. How many shocks you can give? That is the one common question. Any number of shocks till you get a perfused rhythm. See, whenever you come across ventricular fibrillation or pulseless ventricular tachycardia, see, there is no upper limit for the shock. Okay, you can give escalating shock, like, you know, if it is using your biphasic device, defibrillator, you can start with the 200 joules and you can go up to 360 joules also. Okay, so if the rhythm is ventricular fibrillation, you can go maximum number of shocks, and along with that, drugs. That is very, very important. As I said, BLS is more of a automated external defibrillator, because AED is a preset device. AED will not, you know, select the joules, or it will not guide you which type of rhythm it is. AED will guide you shock is needed. If AED advises shock is needed, that means it is a ventricular fibrillation or ventricular pulseless ventricular tachycardia. So you need to go with the shock. So in case of resuscitation, probably there is no upper limit for the shock. Till you get a perfused or organized rhythm, you can go with the AED shock.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, there is one question. Can you please tell the AED pressure while giving shock? As I explained, AED is an automated external defibrillator. It is a preset device. There is no control over it to select the joules. You assume that AED will select the maximum joules to revert the electrically disorganized rhythm, that is ventricular fibrillation or pulseless ventricular tachycardia. In manual defibrillator, you have the, you know, control of collecting the joules. Like as I said, in most of the hospitals we use manual defibrillators, right? In manual defibrillators, you can select 200 joules, starting with the 200 joules, and you can go with escalating joules like 360, maximum 360, along with the drugs. That is the ACLS part. When it comes to drugs, it is the ACLS part. When it comes to BLS, you just follow the AED orders. If AED advises no shock is needed, that means either patient is having a pulse or patient is not in a shockable rhythm. In that case, don't jump into pulse check. You please provide 2 minutes of CPR and you check the pulse. As I explained earlier, after 2 minutes of CPR, you go for a pulse check. If there is a pulse, AED will not deliver shock. Hope it is clear.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
It was really nicely explained.
Yeah.
So the next question is how can you give BLS to a gunshot victim? For instance, if the gunshot is in the chest area or the thoracic area, it will be very difficult because it can lead to different conditions. So how to give BLS during that?
Yes, when it comes to BLS, okay, if there is a absence of pulse or if there is an absence of breathing, our priority is to get a pulse back, correct? If there is a gunshot injury, or if there is an open chest trauma, or if there is a blunt chest injury, already there is a fractured ribs, there are multiple rib fractures. In that case, you just go with a BLS survey. You assess the patient, whether patient is conscious or not. Then you assess for breathing and look for a pulse. Even if it is a trauma patient with a blunt injury to the chest and with a multiple rib fractures or tension pneumothorax or whatever it may be, or pneumohemothorax, if there is an absence of pulse, our priority is to deliver the chest compression. By delivering chest compressions in a proper position, there is the least chances of breaking the rib. Even there is a rib fracture, there is no absolute contraindication for providing chest compression. By delivering chest compression in case of sudden cardiorespiratory arrest is life-saving. Even if it is a gunshot injury, or even if it is a multiple rib fracture, or even if it is an open thoracic injury, if there is absence of pulse, you need to start chest compression.
Thank you, sir. So the next question is, can a patient with pacemakers be given AED?
Exactly. There is a wonderful question, which is most commonly, asked question. Yes, because we are talking about the AED. I am not confused with most of the AED part here. See, when you come across AED or when you come across a defibrillator, there are four special scenarios you need to identify. One is the hairy chest. You know, if the patient has got a lot of hair over the chest, your AED pads may not be adhesive to stick to the skin. If AED pads are not stick to the skin properly, then AED will not analyze the rhythm, because we need to attach the pads properly to the bare skin. And if the patient has got a medicated patches or some ICDs or some pacemakers over there, usually we will find a groove on the right side of the chest wall. Okay. So if the patient has got a cardiac arrest or sudden cardiac arrest, so you are using the AED or you are using a defibrillator to give shock. In that case, you just avoid the ICD or pacemaker. Okay. Just don't keep the pads over the ICD or pacemaker. Commonly we find a groove there, right? You just keep 1 or 2 centimeters below the ICD or pacemaker. You can attach the patch so that you can use defib or AED. Okay. And next comes to the drowning victim. Whenever you come across a drowning victim, you know water is the electrical conductor, right? So in that case also, you need to wipe the chest properly before attaching the AED pad. So these are the four special situations. One is the hairy chest. So most of the AED kits have come up with the razors. You can see the razors. You can show the hairs with the razors, and you can adhere the pads. And comes to the ICD or pacemaker. Next comes to medicated patches. In case of most of the times in medical oncology and all, they will keep the fentanyl or some analgesic patches. So don't keep the AED pads or defibrillator paddles or the medicated patches. You can remove the medicated patches. And if it is already implanted or permanent pacemaker is there, commonly they will identify with the groove. So just keep the AED pads or defibrillator paddles just below the groove. So that will be ideal to give the shock.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
I hope all the listeners are getting a beautiful and explained answer for each question they have asked.
Okay, there is one more question.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Sir, can we provide AED those who had undergone CABG? Yeah, of course we can use AED. If patient already underwent a post surgery, he got discharged and probably here again cardiac arrest. And while transporting the patient, of course you can use AED any point of time, because AED will not deliver shock if there is a pulse. That is the one good thing about AED. So that is the reason it is kept in all public places. If there is a pulse, AED will not give shock. Only in case of shockable rhythm, like as I explained, ventricular fibrillation or pulseless VT, these are the only two shockable rhythms where we give shock. In no other rhythms we will give shock. DC shock will be given only these two rhythms. Okay, one is the pulseless ventricular tachycardia or ventricular fibrillation. Okay, of course, while transporting the post-CABG patient, or if you are shifting the patient from one place to other place, if you are using AED in the ambulance, it is fine. It is good. No problem.
So we have another question coming up, like how to calculate the compression of embo bag while giving ventilation to the patient.
Yes. If there is a pulse, and absence of breathing, okay, you can provide rescue breathing. So there is a difference between rescue breathing and the ventilation. Okay, and rescue breathing will be provided when there is a pulse. Okay, patient is in respiratory arrest, not in cardiac arrest. Correct. If patient is in respiratory arrest, we can provide bag mask ventilation, or you can provide the pocket mask. You can deliver 8 to 10 breaths per minute. That is sufficient to save someone's life. Okay, in case of respiratory arrest, 8 to 10 breaths is sufficient to save someone's life in case of respiratory arrest. When it comes to cardiorespiratory arrest, of course the ratio will be 30:2 compression, 30 compression and 2 ventilation. That is 5 cycles in 2 minutes.
Yes. Sir, a person, Dr. Manoj, has asked that if a patient has got an injury on the face or a burn injury on the face, then how are you going to start with artificial breathing?
Sorry, the breathing.
Artificial breathing, yes, sir.
Okay, okay. If patient has got certain limitations like facial injuries or polytrauma or nasal bone fracture or oral cavity injuries, so the basic life support always getting the pulse and breathing back, right? So in that case, if you suspect any polytrauma or suspected head injury, so the best method to open the airway is jaw thrust method. So in jaw thrust method, we are not going to damage the cervical spine. Okay, only with your fingers we are going to just displace the. We are going to lift the jaw, and another person can provide the bag mask ventilation. Of course, the airway is the priority to clear the secretions, to clear the clotted blood and other things. And providing bag mask ventilation is always priority when it comes to airway compromise. That is not absolute limitation for providing ventilation. Okay, facial trauma. Of course, you can go for a definitive airway. That is the ACLS part. You can go for some airway adjuvants to prevent the tongue fall, or you can go for some surgical airway to open the airway, or you can go for some advanced airway devices like endotracheal intubation or supraglottic devices, or LMS, or combi tubes, or king tubes. There are so many definitive airway measures when it comes to airway obstruction.
So we have one more question asking that how to manage if you're a single rescuer, how to manage the fatigue at that time.
Yes, if you are a single rescuer, the first priority is to call for a help. That is the first step in BLS. As I said, whenever you come across the cardiac arrest victim or unresponsive patient, especially in out hospital scenario, like there are two scenarios. One is in-hospital cardiac arrest and out-hospital cardiac arrest. In-hospital cardiac arrest, definitely we have a code blue team. Okay, we can call the code blue team, and the specialized trained team will come and take over the patient and start resuscitation. When it comes to the outside hospital cardiac arrest, like out-hospital cardiac arrest, like public places or malls and other stadiums, in that case, the priority is to call for a help, because AHA also recommends nowadays most of the people are having mobile devices. You can easily call 108 ambulance, or you can easily call nearby hospital, or you can call some bystanders, those who are near to you. So you can start CPR. Once you start CPR, you can easily switch the role. Like after 2 minutes, if you are tired, you can hand over it to the other person, and easily you can train the other person also. It is very easy. Even the school children also nowadays getting trained in BLS, because BLS is a basic training for all general public, including police personnel, students, school teachers, as well as the traffic police.
So we have this
is a priority when it comes to sudden cardiac arrest, and particularly when it comes to a single rescuer scenario, because one person can't do CPR. See, one person can't do CPR for more than 2 minutes. He may become fatigue, and the quality of compressions may go down. Yes, exactly.
Yes. Sir, we have got this question twice. Is there any absolute contraindications for AED?
No, as of now, AED is the one device which is used to recognize the shockable rhythm. Okay, as of now, there is no absolute contraindication for AED. Okay, AED can be used in all cardiac arrest victims. Okay, in all cardiac arrest, even in case of any emergencies. Okay, you can use AED, because AED is the one thing which gives us the clue about the shockable rhythms. Because AED is a preset device. There is no absolute contraindication in case of cardiac arrest. Definitely you can use AED. AED is a life-saving. So that is the reason it is kept in all public places, stadiums, and in airports. There is no absolute contraindication. Of course, if there is a scene safety is the concern. Okay, if the scene is unsafe for the resuscitator, so don't land up in a trouble. Okay, if the scene is unsafe for both patient as well as resuscitator, so don't go for resuscitation. And not only for AED, not only for this thing. So don't go for any resuscitation. Scene safety is the first priority. So make sure that your scene should be safe. It should be free from the hazardous materials, free from the moving vehicles, free from fire. So bring the patient to a safer side, and you can start CPR and use AED.
So is it needed or is it important to give BLS for a patient who is undergoing seizure attack?
Yes, it's a very good question. Most of the time, these seizures can mimic as a cardiac arrest, particularly in post-ictal phase, right? If patient had a seizure, suddenly he will go into loss of consciousness. So we will not come to know whether he is in cardiac arrest or he is in a post-ictal state, right? So in that case, as I explained earlier, the BLS survey plays the very important role. In BLS survey, first thing is we will assess the patient. Okay, so we will assess, tap the shoulders, tap the shoulders, like are you all right? Are you all right? Suppose patient is unresponsive. The next thing is we look for breathing, whether patient is breathing or not. Then we will go for a pulse check. If the post-seizure patient, like seizure patient, having pulse and breathing, so there is no point in providing chest compression. You need to keep the patient in a left lateral position so that he will, not to aspirate the saliva or vomitus. If the post-seizure patient is in unconscious state or unresponsive state, but he is having pulse and breathing, keep the patient in a left lateral position and keep assessing the patient every 2 minutes, where the airway is the priority. So you need to prevent the tongue bite. That is very, very important. Seizures may last for 5 to 10 seconds or sometimes more than 15 seconds. In that case, you need to be calm. You reassure the patient. Okay, and in post-ictal status, keep the patient in a left lateral position and monitor the airway, breathing, and circulation. Because there is a pulse, there is no point in doing chest compression.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. I guess almost everybody's answer is clear here, and everybody's question is being answered very beautifully by you.
Yeah.
So I don't think there's any more questions coming up. It's already 9:36.
Yeah, sure. Okay. Sure.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. It was a really enlightening and very knowledgeable session from you. We really learned a lot of skills.
Yeah, this is, as I said earlier, it is a theory part. Okay, so
yes,
it is not a practical demonstration. So to experience BLS, okay, you need to learn the skills with hands-on training. That is very, very important. Basically, on the mannequin, I think we have conducted a workshop in Gautam. Okay, so we need to learn these skills with hands-on training. That is very, very important, because BLS is most of the times not a theory part. But today, I hope this workshop is definitely enhanced your theory knowledge about CPR, the sequence of CPR, how to use AED. So we covered most of the theoretical part here. And to enjoy the practical sessions, you need to come for the hands-on training workshops. That is really a wonderful session and a life-saving session. Okay, right.
So we of course agree with that. There is totally different experience when you study theoretically and when you go in practically. It's totally different. Yeah. So we have a participant called Smita Kadu.
Okay.
Hello, sir.
There's a question. Yeah. So please, Smita.
Yes, sir.
Hello, sir. I just wanted to ask you one thing. If patient is in severe chest pain and if he is conscious, so CPR is advisable or not?
No, that's what. In the beginning itself, I have played one slide. One is the cardiac arrest slide, another one is the heart attack slide. Okay. When you come across chest pain, there are so many causes for chest pain, correct? There are some cardiac causes as well as non-cardiac causes. Okay, when patient is complaining of chest pain, breathing difficulty, profuse sweating, so these are the classical symptoms of acute myocardial injury or acute myocardial infarction. Okay. Suppose if the patient is in heart attack, while shifting the patient, suddenly went into cardiac arrest, you can start CPR. Okay. If the patient is in cardiac arrest, suddenly he went into cardiac arrest with absence of pulse and absence of breathing, you can start chest compressions, airway, breathing, and AED. Okay. If patient is complaining of severe chest pain, breathing difficulty, then the priority is to assess for ECG, oxygen, as you know, the heart attack treatment. Okay, you need to find out whether he is in acute MI or any other non-cardiac cause. Hope it is clear, doctor?
Okay, sir. Yeah, it is clear.
Yeah,
Thank
you need
you,
to
sir.
differentiate it from heart attack and cardiac arrest. Heart attack is more of a circulatory problem, where there is a coronaries get blocked and damage the myocardium. The damaged myocardium is more prone for arrhythmia. So can generate any ventricular fibrillation and patient may go into sudden cardiac arrest. When patient is in sudden cardiac arrest, the priority is to CPR, chest compressions, airway, breathing, and defibrillation.
Okay, sir. Yeah. Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot.
Welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Smita. I guess it is clear for you now. So we have one more question by Dr. Ria. She's asking that, is it always necessary to have you in the right side position only for recovery?
To provide CPR?
Sir, to position the patient in right side.
No. It is not mandatory to provide CPR either on the right side, left side. Doesn't make any difference. If you are standing on the, if you are kneeling down or standing on the right side, you can provide CPR on the right side. Or if you're standing on the left side, you can provide CPR on the left side. There is no absolute indication for right or left.
No, sir, not the position of us. It is like when we put the patient in recovery position, is it always
left lateral position? Left lateral position, exactly.
Lateral.
Left lateral position. The recovery position is called as the left lateral position, where the chances of gastric aspiration or aspiration pneumonia are very minimal. The left lateral position is ideal position for all unconscious patients who are having pulse and breathing.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Ria, I guess you have received your answer, and sorry for the late question asked by sir. Okay, so we have one more person, Dr. Trusha.
Yeah.
She wants to ask question. Can I have Dr. Trusha? Dr. Trusha? I think the person is not able to get us.
Yeah.
Okay. Sir, there's one more question, like what is the physiology behind giving left lateral position?
Yeah, the recovery position, yeah, it's a very wonderful question. See, if you keep the patient in a left lateral position, there is a least chances of, gastric content to regurgitate, because, stomach is in a resting state. If you keep the patient is in a left lateral position, stomach will be in a resting phase. So the gastric contents are, least chances of regurgitating and coming out. So that is the reason we keep patient is on a left lateral position. So that is the physiology behind keeping the patient on a left lateral position. So most of the unconscious patients or post-severe patients, we need to shift the patient to keeping in a left lateral position, because even if there is a gastric secretion or even if there is a saliva, so easily it will come out.
I guess everybody's question has been answered, and I don't see any more questions coming up now.
Yeah, I hope
you have
yes.
really explained very beautiful, sir. It was a really nice session. I would like to
Except
appreciate
some,
the way you have explained.
hiccups with internet connection issues.
Yeah, a little. It was initially it was there, sir, but now it is very clear. It was very much audible later. So thank you so much, and thank you for having patience to answer so many questions with your girl.
Sure, madam. Thank you, and once again, thanks to Karnataka State Physiotherapy Federation also.
Yes, sir. I will hand over to Sai Mohendran sir now, and thank you once again.
Yeah, thank you so much. It was really a wonderful session, sir. Dr. Gopinath, as usual, you've explained it very beautifully to most of us before and even now. But yeah, practically, if you do not
demonstrate,
have patience, demonstrate or do trials, you will not be able to get to know better. And I request all the participants to take help of Gopinath sir wherever he's doing workshop. Please attend and make sure that you learn this, because this is something that we can change lives. Saving a person's life.
It's a life-saving skill.
Not only his life but his family's life as well. So it's very important that we all learn this and try to take this with us. And it was really wonderful having a session with you, sir. We're looking forward for many more sessions with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you once again.
And,
thank you, Dr.
And thank you, Dr. Deep. Yeah, thank you, Dr. Deepamala. You've been a wonderful moderator.
Thank you so
and
much.
It's been a pleasure having you on panel with us.
Thank you so much, sir, for opting me. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. And we'll have many more webinars, and we will be releasing the flyers shortly. Stay tuned. Thank you. Good night.
Good night. Thank you.